Tolerators. This is To All the Men I've Tolerated Before with Natalie Katona.
And Dina Alkatib.
Usually when we get together with you, Dina and I explore some of the impactful relationships we've had with men, but today is more exciting. We have Brittany and Liz from the podcast The Mother Cluckers joining us. Break for applause.
Yay.
Their podcast is great because they talk about their experiences with homesteading and all things woo-woo. When I listen to their show, it's like, I love it because it's like extending that relaxing part of the morning where you have like a good mug of something warm to drink and you're in that like early sunshine and nothing has bothered you yet. Like that's the feeling that I get while I'm listening to you all.
Yes, it is very relaxing. And if you're like me and you have no idea what homesteading was until you listen to these awesome girls, I have a definition, like I always do.
Oh, so, Dina Googled the definition.
I did. And I'm curious to see if it fits what your definition is of homesteading. But Wikipedia defines homesteading as a lifestyle of self-sufficiency. It is characterized by sustenance agriculture, home preservation of foodstuffs, and it may or may not also involve the small-scale production of textiles, clothing, and craft work for household use or sale. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think that's a good one.
Is it? It's pretty general.
It's pretty general. Do you guys have a certain concentration with your homesteading? Do you guys work together with it, or?
We do Suffolk sheep. We raise them for butcher. We do chickens. We take their eggs, obviously, but also we do butcher chickens every year. And we do a big garden and do canning. And I used to be really into knitting, but I just don't have time for it right now. But I do like textiles.
So that part of the definition is definitely true. I told somebody today when I was mentioning your podcast, I was like, I love their podcast about animal sex. It's great. Like, because I remember you guys saying that, I was like, that's a perfect way to explain it. So that's the way I'm going to explain it from now on.
I've been telling people that you'll notice that it's really starting to get cold over here in Ohio when I abandon all my paints and like clay or whatever, and I just start swathing myself in yarn and crocheting, because that's what I do all winter long.
That's perfect.
What about you, Liz? Is that more Brittany stuff, or do you have your own set of stuff going on at home?
Yeah, I was going to say, so Brittany and her family farm have really moved along really quick. It's awesome. And I live about 45 minutes technically away, which doesn't feel that far, to be honest. But yeah, so over here we've just got our chickens this spring and 2 kittens from Brittany and her family. They're so cute. And we have bees because my husband and I started beekeeping and are going to overwinter our first beehives in the brutal Montana winter.
I am fascinated by beekeeping. I've clearly listened to your podcast, but I also, before discovering your podcast, listened to an episode of The Dork Forest by Jackie Cashian, and she had someone talk for like an hour about beekeeping, and I was fascinated. And I love watching TikToks of like this woman like steam out bees, and they're so gentle, and she's like, I approached the cooler and I was just quiet and I took their queen in my hand and they followed me to my truck. I'm like, what?
Basically, Bee Nation. You could become the leader of bees if you just hold the queen.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. Like, can you imagine the power of carrying around the queen? That's awesome.
It's so relaxing. I mean, is it as relaxing as it looks to be keeping bees?
Yeah, it's only not relaxing on a hot day when you're in your suit and you're like, oh my god. But you realize you don't want to take that off since you've just aggravated them and they'll come at you and get in your face.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is oddly. But it's pretty interesting. Their hum is rather soothing. They're relaxing creatures to be around. When you feel suited up, you're protected. So.
I was going to say, if you've been stung, that would not be fun. But...
Yeah, it's not exciting. I don't enjoy that part.
You don't enjoy being stung?
No,
What?
oddly.
It's strange.
But, you can go around them without getting stung. But, I mean, just like any animal's territory, as you enter it, I mean, you have to expect you don't look the same. So you're going to be considered a predator.
True.
When I was teaching, that's what I would tell kids. I'd be like, you don't, like, wouldn't you be upset if a bear just, like, came into your house? That's how they feel, too. They are also shocked that you're just around. So just leave them alone.
Or prepare to accept the consequences.
Right. And then can you kind of give us an overview of Mother Cluckers and how it kind of all came to be?
Wow. I give credit to Brittany because she's just the tech guru of all things here on the podcast and even at our workplace, which is really fun. And she just has a natural passion for it, and she makes it completely fun. And I enjoy chatting with her all the time, and it's been a lifelong thing. What do I say, lifelong? Long enough that it probably feels like a lifetime to her to do a podcast, and I was also really thought that'd be a lot of fun. And I mean, it's Brittany, so of course I want to talk to her all the time, so sit down and have a glass of wine and chat about fun things. So, I mean, it's a great opportunity that we can all kind of, be a little bit of a distance away, but kind of, sit together. And
how did you all meet?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Britt and I met at work. Through work, we both started working for the Department of the Interior when we were looking for new jobs, and we just wound up in the office one day, both having been accepted into our positions. So
awesome.
Yeah, it was extremely lucky because we have an extremely small group of people, and I was just beyond excited that we got along so well and just love each other to pieces. So it's a treat. I mean, that doesn't happen every day.
No, that definitely makes work better.
So how long ago was this? Like,
so
how
much
long?
better.
That's true. It is.
It was like almost 2 years ago.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have to like learn from scratch, or like what did you do to like figure this out? Just curious how it started.
Like homesteading or like podcasting?
Homesteading, sorry.
Oh, well, I don't know how much I want to get into this, but like I'm like really afraid that democracy is going to fail.
Oh.
And
no, that's valid.
I'm yeah. And I was like, man, I wish I knew how to do more things, but I guess that was before I thought democracy might fail. But
just in general, would like to know.
Yeah, I was just like, man, I just feel like if like shit hit the fan, like I don't know how to take care of myself without electricity, And so we kind of just decided we were going to be more self-sufficient. And I really want to get solar panels. That's our next big thing.
Oh, yeah.
To be more off-grid. But I've learned most everything from YouTube. Like we butchered the lambs from some guy on YouTube who showed us how to cut it up. And we
Wait, did you
learned
have
how
it at the same time?
No, we did. We like watched it before, but then we would pull up the video, like if we like, got stuck.
I feel like that's like a little psychological for the sheep. It's like, oh my God, they're watching the video. They're showing me the video of how they're gonna do it before they do it. This is messed up.
Yeah. Oh man.
Sorry, go ahead.
But we don't really, we're still pretty new to this, so we don't have, all of the, equipment and materials yet. So luckily we have cousins in the area who are very self-sustained, I guess we could say. And so they have a ton of stuff that we borrow.
Oh, that's great.
That's awesome.
So we're just slowly building it up.
Is that kind of how similarly you started, Liz? It was kind of just like, oh, I need a hobby.
I guess you could. My husband's views and I mirror what Brittany said earlier.
Yeah. Also, we need to make sure that we can feed ourselves should the end times come.
Yeah, and in general, for sure, it's kind of, I guess, it's you come to wonder, like, well, how did it come to be this way? What can we take care of ourselves? And I've really enjoyed gardening for a really long time, so it was kind of like I'm trying to make that more regular practice so that we can just provide our stuff to ourselves from our land. It's a treat. I enjoy that. I feel a little bougie sometimes. It's a lot of hard work, though. Man.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, we, out here in Dayton, we're kind of more in the city than we are anything else. So I can't even remember, like, the last time I felt like I was just, like, out in the open with nature and only nature on a farm or anything like that. But nothing looks more ridiculous than, like, my toddler look on my face when I see, like, a baby cow. I'm like, it's a baby cow, everyone. Do you see it? Do you see the baby cow? And then I'm approaching, and they're like, no one wants you to mess with that baby cow.
Please, ma'am.
Right.
I'm still the same way with cows. I'm like, oh my gosh, get over here, you little fluff nugget. Like,
grass puppies. They really are.
Yes.
Just grass puppies.
They have the sweetest little eyes. Like, I just want to put my eyes with your eyes and, like, let's touch foreheads. Let's just touch foreheads. I was actually thinking of, I think I was listening to your podcast and I was thinking of A Quiet Place. And I was like, oh my gosh, how did they feed themselves? Because I've only watched them run from monsters. So I was like, they would have had a homestead and they would have had to grow a garden, but they would have had to be quiet about it because the monsters would have come. So yeah, so I totally get, like, the survival instinct. We have a friend, she was on our podcast about running a small business. She's a historical costumer, and she does canning and gardening and things like that, too. And it's very much the same thing, like, well, if anything's going to go down, we need a food source. And I'm like, that's right. And that's why I will be driving to your house when things go down, because I won't be able to cook my frozen pasta.
I truly think I'll just die.
Oh.
Like, I'm too connected. Like, I have medications. I'm like, once my medications run out, I'm like, I'm screwed anyway, so I might as well just eat me for meat, truly, already. Just take it.
Just
Free
take me.
So, I swear I'm not going to keep asking, like, really dumb questions, but I'm just truly curious, like, for both of you, is there an animal with, like, the most personality? Like, what is the animal that has the most personality on your, like, little farms, homesteads?
goats.
Yes.
Goats. Do they have
Goats
names?
are the best. Well, they both died, but I'll give you the story.
Oh God, I'm so sorry.
No, I mean, when you live on a farm, you get really comfortable with the cycle of life and death. Like,
Sure.
you're just kind of, like, thrown into it. But when we went to go get sheep, our first sheep, there was goats that this lady had rescued. And one was, like, a really old goat who had pneumonia. And honestly, she would have died anyway. She was so old. But there was this baby goat also who was, like, super malnourished and, like, half the size he was supposed to be. And so I was like, oh, can we take these goats too? And my husband was like, oh my God, no, I'm just going to have to bury them. Like, why would you do this? And I was like, no, we're going to take the goats. Like, I thought for sure I could, like, nurse that baby goat back to health.
Mm-hmm.
But they are like, the baby goat immediately just wanted to sit in your lap and snuggle. And they make the cutest little noises. They're like, meh, meh. And it would, like, follow the dogs around outside, and it was just so sweet. But they made it, like, 2 weeks, and they both died.
Oh
But
my
you know
gosh.
what? You made their last 2 weeks so happy and cuddly. I would have been the
Yeah.
same way. I would have been like, well, no, like, someone has to care about them until that happens, even if it's going to happen.
That was exactly how I was.
Yeah. Like, someone has to cuddle them while it's happening if they're not feeling well. I love goats. Oh my gosh. I'm one of those people
Me
who
too.
narrates what the animals are thinking in their head at the zoo. And people are like, what? I was like, that's what the goat's doing. It's like, no, I'm the in charge goat. Like, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, oh, okay. But I really, like, I should spend more time on a farm, but I honestly have no manual labor skills. I have none.
Liz, what about you? Did you have any very big personalities?
I get a kick out of my chickens. They're hilarious to me. So, I think the chances of my husband listening to this specific podcast before I tell him won't happen for a little while, but I opened the door to the front door one day when they were out there, and I fed them tomatoes, and I just wanted them to come in, so I let them in. And they came in and just looked around a little, and then I got them out because, they've dropped poop randomly throughout there. They can't really withhold that at all, so it's just constantly a mess. But now they come and they peck on the door. I'm like, oh, they look in the windows regularly, and I just love something about the way chickens look, their face. And I was showing Brittany today, my husband's like, I just don't understand why they want to come in or what they're trying to do. I'm like, they just want to see our coop. We've seen theirs. They want to come in and see ours, I'm like, he's like, I guess so. I'm like, that's it. He would be so mad.
Chickens are like the best. There's I'm a huge TikTok addict, which is awful, but there's this lady on there that has a farm, and she has a chicken named Hennifer, and this chicken lays a lot of eggs, and every morning, or what I'm assuming every morning, she goes to get the eggs from Hennifer. Hennifer won't move off the eggs. Like, she just won't, and she gets aggressive about it. So the whole time, she's yelling at Hennifer, like, you bitch, Hennifer, move! Stop being moody! And it makes my day, because I knew if I ever had a farm, like, this is the relationship I would have with the chickens. Like, they're just annoying. And get off the freaking eggs!
I've had that same...
So,
Go ahead, Brittany.
oh, I was just going to say Hennifer. I've watched those TikToks. They're really funny. But she's broody, and she could break her of that broodiness.
I've
There's
heard
ways
that.
you can break that. Yeah.
Another TikToker is putting a broody hen into a cage for a while, like separate.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the logic. Maybe you guys could tell me. I'm just curious. Why do you move a broody hen away from the rest?
So they just, so it's really hard on the chicken, and they actually won't get the exercise or even the food or water they need, because they will literally sit on that egg and not move. They just their mother instincts or something kick in, and it goes into hypervigilance. I don't know. It sounds like it's almost like a form of OCD in chickens.
Aww.
And there's a couple ways you can break it. You can just take them out of the box, and sometimes they won't go back in, and sometimes you can just block off the specific box, and sometimes you have to block off their access to the coop. But if you try all those things and it's still not working, you have to put them in a cage for a few days. Yeah, and then they can usually be broken of it. And there's certain breeds that are more broody than others.
Are chickens supposed to be able to tell the difference from when their eggs are fertilized and they need to be on the eggs and when they're not? And, for instance, we would take them. Is that an instinct that they have?
So our chickens would get broody before we had a rooster, so that they weren't fertilized eggs. So I'm going to say no, but I could be wrong.
Oh. But I've had that same chicken experience just with a stray cat outside of my friend's house while we were trying to watch The Bachelor. He was just looking in the glass door the entire time, and I was like, he had a name and everything. Everyone knew his name. And I was like, well, can he just come in and hang out with us while we watch TV? And my friend was like, our guy friend says that he will poop and pee in the house though, Natalie. And I was like, that guy friend of ours hates animals. Like, he's just lying about this cat. Can he just come in and hang out? He was very nice and greeted me at the door. And they're like, no, but you can watch him at the door. I'm like, okay. But yeah, I'm the same way. If, like, animals fascinate me, and I'm like, do you just want to be over here, though? Do you want to come sit with me? What would you do if you're in here? So, I think it's fascinating that you guys juggle, especially, like, when I think of homesteading. Like, I can wrap my mind around, like, okay, taking care of, like, maybe, like, a little box garden outside. And then I'm like, okay, Penelope, she's a cat. She gets fed, like, once a day, and my full-time job. But you guys are, like, actually raising, like, hefty farm animals and bees and gardens and stuff while taking care of your families and homesteading. Like, how does that all come to fruition? We talk a lot about, like, the invisible labor of women and, like, how a lot of it just falls onto them. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Is the one who manages the most of the variables, and I've been interested to hear how you do it too, because you wouldn't believe all the things happening in her day and how present she still is during the day. So please, Brittany.
Goodness. I don't know. I like to stay busy. When I get bored, I don't do well when I'm bored, or like when I'm not doing anything. I feel like idle, or I think this is like also growing up in America and like also being a woman, but just like I feel like I constantly have to fill my day. That's probably something I need to work out in therapy, honestly. But I do enjoy everything that I'm doing for the most part. I do feel tired a lot, though.
Oh, do you run on coffee or something? Is there something you use to stay awake? Coffee.
I am. I drink like 4 cups of coffee a day, at least. Yeah. But I do... Bryson, my husband, he's pretty helpful. He's a good partner. So I definitely get a lot of support from him and help with things. And my kids, like, too, like, the older ones are teenagers, so, I mean, they don't require, like, as much, like, hands-on 24/7 care, if you know what I mean. And they're actually pretty helpful, too, so, I don't know.
Is it like a family? Is it like a family affair while you're homesteading? Do the kids get very involved with the animals or anything like that?
So our daughter Lily does almost everything with the sheep and the chickens. Lily and Bryson do. Maverick is he likes doing like the butchering stuff and like cleaning up stuff, but like actually like going out there and spending time with the animals, he's like, whatever. But yeah, I do think that it definitely takes everybody in the family. Like, I could not do this on my own. There's no way.
Did you have to like get everybody on board with this, like, whenever you first started doing it? Or was everybody pretty, like, excited and ready to jump in?
Like, Bryson and I were both pretty much on the same page, and the kids were kind of just like, well, whatever. I don't think they really cared either way, but they're here. They're having a good time. I like that they're in, like, a little farming community, and, like, Lily's in FFA, the Future Farmers of America. Yeah, it's so cute, and they, like, wear these little, like, lady business suits. It's really cute.
We used to have FFA, because I grew up in southern Kentucky, actually in the south, like, farms everywhere, you know, now so far distant from that. I am so pampered in my in my now environment, but back then, yeah, we had FFA, we had farm day, so they'd bring all the tractors and all the farm animals and cows, and we'd make butter and all of it. And I always loved it. I thought it was awesome. I would love to do that to like relax, because you guys, or you all sound so relaxed compared to me. I feel like I'm just an anxious ball of crazy right now. And I'm like, wow, I wonder if it's because they're around farms and animals and nature. And it's amazing. I'm like, My God, I am so wound up tight right now. I need to chill and go to a farm. Like, for real.
You're absolutely right about the days where I'm just all fussy or, like, wound up completely tight. If I go outside and just walk around, it's kind of like, I was telling Brittany about it one day, just physically, I am putting my feet on the ground and grounding myself, and it changes my perspective, and I'm like, well, goodness, why was I so uptight about this?
Yeah.
I've been so lax about my meditation lately, and finally TikTok, because we're addicted to it, was like, girl, have you meditated? Because you know that's what helps. And I was like, oh, now TikTok even knows that I'm being lazy about my own self-care. That's fine. That's great. So one of the big themes on the show is that we kind of talk about how men relate to you within your hobbies or, so with homesteading, have you run into men who like throw out these cliches to you? Like, do they ever do like the like, aw, little lady type of deals while you're out there shopping for sheep or trying to learn all of your butchering skills or beekeeping or anything like that?
I was thinking immediately of beekeeping. Okay, I didn't know for the longest time it had been sort of dominated by men. Mm-hmm. And that a lot of women felt that they did need to challenge that change. There's a bit of a tomboy in me, and I grew up with a younger sister, and my mom was a single mom, so she would chop wood herself, bring it in, and we'd help her stack it up for the winter and stuff like that. And I didn't really... My parents, since they were divorced, I didn't grow up with it too closely, so I didn't really think a lot about that. I was a little ignorant. And then we played sports with the guys, but now as I kind of like, as I've grown up and become a little more educated about it, I can see that there are, different activities that have been established by men and predominantly run by men. So, that's just something interesting that I recently learned about beekeeping. I hadn't known. I'm like, well, we all kind of look the same in the suits. You can't really tell guys from girls in a way.
Right, the bees don't care.
Yeah. I always wonder about hormones, if they can smell such things and like sense our uppityness during our monthly cycle. I'm curious to see if there's any research.
But yeah, that's really interesting because, I don't know, I expected butchering to be like a very male-heavy dominated field, but when I think of beekeeping, and maybe it's because I've only seen like very gentle and soothing and quiet videos of beekeeping, I didn't know that was a male-dominated field too.
Yeah, I had no idea, and I learned from a retired colonel in the Army, and, a crew of his other gentlemen that had, joined his group to work at their honey shop, and they taught us how to do like personal, like private, small amounts of hives, and then worked us into a little bit of how it works to do commercial beekeeping. And when you start hauling those things around, oh my gosh, they are so heavy. So I can kind of see why that is very physical labor. Those boxes are up to 100 pounds sometimes. They're just so extremely heavy. So, yeah, they're bees. Yeah, they're honey and stuff too. Yeah, like it's amazingly heavy.
Do you harvest honey like from your bees? God, I know nothing. I sound like an idiot.
You don't.
I swear to God.
No, that's like, exactly the right terminology.
The juice of the bee? Like, what are you
No, that's exactly right. Like, that's kind of the terminology I thought was interesting, too. I think they talk about it mainly as people, they're kind of like a crop, and you harvest their honey. That's exactly right. And, this year we didn't because we have new hives, and so the stuff that they've made for themselves is to last them over the winter time. So next year when they have like a surplus, which normally would obviously be for them, but humans are going to intervene and we're going to take some for ourselves. So they'll have plenty. So
is it like a ratio of like each bee needs this amount of honey to survive, blah, 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 blah? And so, like, how do you know when there's excess?
It's a really good question. That's actually, so like in the classes, we kind of learned the boxes, the structures that you use to have them, lay their eggs in and then put their honeycomb in and everything like that.
Right.
They were teaching us just, how to manage that, and then the small boxes up top are where they'll put their honey. But there's so much in the management aspect of it. I haven't even really gotten to thinking, like, what would they do normally? Like, how much would they need? But they seem to be so intelligent that they decide what their entire colony needs. And they really work well as a team. Like, they feed each other if needed. They clean each other off if needed. Like, they're just such neat creatures. But yeah, no, I should look into
ready
that.
for our bee overlords. Like, I'm ready for our bees to come take over the world and, like, destroy the humans.
They have, like, whole social structures. I won't know the ins and outs of the social structure, but I very much know that, like, each bee has a job and a part in the hive.
Isn't that amazing? It blows my mind. And that they can cycle through that and know who does what. I find it fascinating too. So there's this class that you can take. They're all over the place, but one that I started with begins as an apprentice beekeeping course, and then there's a journeyman, and then there's a master beekeeping course. So I'm at the beginning of it, and so I'm hoping next spring to go into the next course and learn the journeyman material and learn a little bit more about things. So.
Do you get, like, certified or something?
Yeah, you get to be certified.
What? Can you imagine putting that on your resume? I would put it on the top. I don't even care what the job is. They're like, ma'am, why did you put this on your resume? I'll be like,
I have a certificate.
What do you mean? It's literally a certificate. You asked me for my qualifications. I'm literally a master beekeeper.
So,
like, what?
It's true. I did it on my resume first.
Yes! I love that for you. That's amazing.
I just feel like it's a whole allegory. Like, Dina and I talk a lot about how, as humans, we've overcomplicated things, and, like, that capitalism sucks, and the way that we do everything sucks. And then it's like, all bees. Everyone just assigned one bee, one job. Everyone gets to eat. Everyone gets a hole in the hive. And it's like, see? The bees can do it. Why can't we just?
And then they kick the men out too.
Yes! And they kick the men out. They're like, go away.
Literally the dream. But every once in a while, I'll go up to my my boss and I'm like, we invented this, right? Like, I could trade my apple for somebody's watermelon if I wanted to. Like, that could have been money if we wanted it to. Like, I have a thing you want, you have a thing I want, let's just, like, trade for it. That'd be cool. Here, I give you honey, you give me medication from Walgreens. Like, like, I don't know.
My happy pills.
Right. Like, it'll be fine.
So has it gone further than just kind of like researching and coming to an understanding that beekeeping was a male-dominated field? Or have you had like run-ins where like someone was just like really condescending or unkind about you wanting a spot in this community?
No, I didn't have any run-ins. So I was completely unaware. Yeah, I was lucky. I mean, these guys embraced me like they were brothers to me, and I was just their sister kicking around, and then when something got heavy, I'd just kind of look at them like,
right, can you please just lift this? Like,
But like a lot of mutual respect. Like I when I was like realizing how heavy things are, I'm like, wow, we're not all equal, but we can work together. So yeah, it works well. No, but I haven't. I was just, I think, like looking for groups on Facebook when I got when COVID happened, and I saw there's a women beekeeping group, and then listened in on some conversations and saw that some people have had some real struggles, which makes me sad. I didn't know.
We have a big motto on this podcast, and it started with our Plug It Up our episode with Caitlin Grant, where it's like, people just get to enjoy things. Like, we all just get to enjoy what we want to enjoy. And, like, I hate that, too, that they're having a hard time. And then I'll get like all fired up about it and be like in the bee Facebook group and be like, do you want me to hunt them down? Where were they?
I was about to say, Liz, like, if you ever come across that, we're getting on a plane,
Right?
and we're gonna save you and the bees from the jerks.
Because I am secretly unhinged. I'm playing
Like,
it really
literally.
cool because you guys are so calm, but I am unhinged. And I'll be like, what did someone say about your chickens? What did someone say about your chickens? No one said anything about your chickens. Like,
Show me the man that messed with the bees, and I will mess them up. How dare them?
Dina will don her Save the Bees ball cap.
I do. I have a
manic bot at Target.
Oh.
I did. I was like, I have like, okay, I don't wear hats. I don't know why. But I have one ball cap, and it is a Save the Bees ball cap.
And
And it's the best. And I'm like, nothing can hurt me when I'm in my bee hat. Because who comes after somebody with the Save the Bees hat? Because who hates bees?
no one can come at me in my bee hat.
It is my favorite line of the evening thus far.
It's my safety net, honestly.
Brittany, have you had any run-ins with misogynists or people that I need to roughhouse during the exploration of your hobbies or while you're trying to enjoy anything?
I will say, like, Montana is, it almost seems like it's, like, back in the past a little bit,
Mhm.
and, like, it's a very slow pace. And I think everybody here is just used to kind of doing things on their own and, like, being isolated and knowing how to do things. So I will say, like, in my homesteading adventure, I have never run into any misogyny. I've never been out at, like, a Tractor Supply, or we have this other store called Shipton's here. They don't think twice about, like, a woman coming in getting feed or, you know, like, oh, well, I will say, you know, ivermectin, the horse dewormer,
Oh,
we actually have to use that for our sheep.
Oh.
Ivermectin. And we couldn't find it.
Yeah, people
So,
are buying
stop.
it from all the, like, Tractor Supply.
Is that what Joe
sites.
Rogan
Mhm.
took before
Yes,
he got COVID?
it is.
Fucking Joe Rogan.
Uh-huh.
They're ingesting it?
Yes.
Yeah, they're
Well, there's people
buying-
who
Yeah. No, go ahead, Brittany.
there's people who are injecting it, like, with a shot.
Because people are dumb.
Yeah, and because they can't get it from their doctors or whatever, they're buying the, like, horse grander version of it and taking it themselves, like crazy people. Literally. And then the poor
Yeah.
animals can't get it when they actually need it. So that's pretty awful.
Yeah. That's been annoying.
Yeah.
I'm
because
sure.
we actually need it for real reasons.
Right.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
not
Not
to
just
take it
For fake
as
news.
humans.
That's actually
Yeah.
very interesting, though, because that brought a question in my mind of, like, COVID. Has that,
Mhm.
since you all are so, like, in Montana, kind of out in the middle of nowhere, I would assume, did COVID change anything for you?
Not really.
I was gonna say, I was like, you guys are all
Not
by
really.
yourself out there.
We didn't go into town too much anyways. They had a mask mandate here for a while, but then we got a new governor, and
He doesn't care. It's like, whatever.
he was just like, you guys do what you want to do. But, like, I don't interact with too many other people, honestly.
So,
Yeah, I couldn't even imagine being in a city right now. Ugh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't go out as much as I
Yeah.
would like.
I was just talking to my therapist today about how it feels like I have everything at my fingertips that I could still be doing, but I still feel so isolated while I'm doing it because people just aren't. Like, I have a favorite board game bar that I used to know all of the bartenders' names at, and they knew my name, and people would just chat and approach one another about games that you were playing and stuff. And now people are just, like, sticking to their little clans of people. So,
Mhm.
So there was a question, it sounds like you haven't experienced a whole lot of weirdness in the homesteading when it comes from men and things like
Which
that.
means that tonight, before I go to bed, I'm going to make a farmers-only online dating account. If the farmers are the ones who aren't misogynists, then here I come.
She's ready.
And you can drive their tractors for fun.
See?
So much fun.
See?
But I'm curious,
Yeah.
you were both in the military, correct? Or are? Or
Yeah.
I don't want to assume.
Yeah, I was in the Air Force for 12 years, and Liz was in the Army.
Okay, yeah.
For I don't know how many years. Many.
Yeah, off and on 12 years-ish. I did service in, like, all of the components of the Army, which was entertaining in my diverse interests.
So I actually work in the aerospace for an aerospace and defense contractor as my day job, not podcasting. But we just did an episode about like the workplace and things we've experienced in the workplace, and this is really my first company that I've worked with members of the military or retired, veterans. And it was also the first place that I feel like I felt misogyny or like gender differences and things like that. So I'm curious as to if you all have had any dealings with that in your time in the military.
So much. So much. That's the reason that I separated and didn't end up going for retirement. I couldn't do it anymore. Well, I looked up some stats.
Go for it.
To share.
I'm so ready.
We
Let's
love
go.
data. I'm just too lazy to look it up. So,
So the Air Force is about 20% women, and that's the highest of all the branches. And the lowest is the Marine Corps at about 6% of women. So I don't know if you've ever worked in a place that was like 80 to 94% male, but there's definitely some behaviors and some toxicity that definitely thrives in those things. And there's this really great article that I read. It was called The Rescuing Patriarchy of Saving Jessica Lynch, the rhetorical construction of the American woman soldier. And they kind of like go into like this warrior hero type, and how when you think of like the perfect soldier, you don't think of a woman. You think of like a big, strong male, like square jaw, like with the haircut, can, use a weapon and run fast and do a bunch of push-ups, right? So like there's like this paradox for women in the military because they have to separate their femininity from like being a soldier, an airman, or whatever. And it's aggravating because no matter how good you are, you're never going to be that like archetype of that perfect warrior hero. So like you're just never going to be good enough no matter what you do. And there's also like men and even other women in the military, like they think that all women are either sluts or bitches. Like that's what you get classified as. And it's super, super annoying. Let me see. In 2018, there's a Pentagon survey, and they said that 24% of female service members said they had experienced sexual harassment. 41% said that they had experienced sexist behavior. 28% said they experienced unwanted sexual contact. And then of those women, 67% of them said that they didn't report their case to authorities. And then when women do, less than 34% of qualifying cases actually go to trial. So there's problems. And I'll say most of the women that I know in the military and that I served with, most of them had been either sexually harassed or sexually assaulted. And they have like this reporting system where you can either do it restricted reporting, where you can get like the help or like the therapy or like the medical attention you need, but they don't bring in like police or investigators, and they don't go after your assailant. And then there's unrestricted reporting where they do go after the assailant. But I only worked for one leader ever who encouraged you, number one, to report if anything happened to you, but also encourage an unrestricted report. So they mostly will like push that restricted reporting. So like, oh, you go get the help you need, but let's not disrupt the rest of everything going on here. And let's not disrupt this guy's career. Like that was kind of the attitude that I saw like time and time again. And it's gross.
That's disgusting.
It is gross. And I think it's just very telling that there are two options for victims to even go through. And even that Pentagon, the data that you said where they use the word unwanted contact instead of what it is, which is assault. So
assault.
Even the vocabulary they use is very telling, where it's like they're clearly not on our side when it comes to these prevalent issues.
It's such a boys club. It's like cover your bro before anything. Save his career. Save him.
Totally.
Before anything.
Totally. Well, I even from like when I very first came into the Air Force, I had a coworker who had a male in the dorms climb up through the air ducts and set up a camera pointing into her bathroom, and had like, I think it was like over 80 hours of footage of her in the bathroom. And nothing ever happened to him. Nothing. She had to keep working with him. Because this was before they like, you could even like request to be moved if something happened. You can do that now though. And just like stalking, sexual harassment, sexual assault. And like your male superiors can look at all your fitness stuff, so they can see how many inches around your waist is. They can see what size pants you wear. They can see what your weight is, and they will comment on it all the time. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. And that, like, there's just a lot of double standards, I would say, probably too. Like when you're deployed, when I was in Iraq, you like when you wore your shorts, like your PT shorts, females had to wear spandex pants underneath, or at least spandex that like went down to your knees, but men didn't have to do that. And finally we had like a chief master sergeant in E9 woman who came in, and she was like, nah, fuck this. Like if either make all the men do it or the women can stop doing it too. And it's just like, I get like the Middle East has a different culture, and you know there's different sensitivities there and everything, but just to make a woman feel ashamed because she has legs, like simply because she has legs, like that, I don't like that.
And the chafing, that's where my mind immediately went. I was like,
yeah,
I get chafed if I don't change right after yoga. Like, no. Just like the fact that it would just be normal that women would take on that inconvenience and that discomfort. And I feel like that's a big theme that we tackle, like, just in our everyday lives. It's like, well, you'll just be uncomfortable because you're the woman and it'll be fine. Yeah.
And it was like 120 degrees.
Insane.
No big deal. Yeah, and I would just say, like, I know that there's been tons of women who, like, have just been in a situation where, like, a man who was higher ranking than her either would, like, come up behind her and, like, put his hands on the shoulders or, like, just in a way where you couldn't leave. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or I know a woman who was pulled into a mop and broom closet by a man, and he started kissing her. Just these stories, like, they're more normal. Like, I feel like in my job now, like, if something like that happened, it would be, like, so out of the ordinary, like, insane, like, unacceptable. But in the military, it happened, like, at least once a week or once a month. Like, things like this would happen. And it's just, I'm not saying that all men in the military are bad, or that I didn't even have good experiences in the military, because I got to travel a lot and do a lot of things that I would have never got to do. And, you know, I got my college paid for, so I'm grateful for those things. But there has to be something where, like, men don't, take advantage of women just because they can.
Yeah.
And because they're in an environment where they're typically more in charge. There's just not a lot of women in really high roles in the military. So,
and I'm curious how many of these cases that you talk about are superiors, which adds a even deeper level of feeling like your voice probably isn't ever going to be heard, but you don't even feel comfortable because the person that did it is your, supervisor, basically, your boss. Mm-hmm. And so you just suffer. And honestly, I can't relate to what it would feel like to be in a completely different country and feel like you had no one to go to.
Yeah.
In those cases. That's heartbreaking to think about.
And what really like does it for me is like you said you would have retired, and like so it's the mental and emotional load that you have to carry, but then it's also like I was once again, based on just the sex and gender I was born with, denied opportunities, and I was denied an opportunity to be successful, not because I did anything wrong or I fucked it up or whatever, just simply because I valued myself more than what was going on in my surroundings. Like, you had to make a choice to love yourself more than those opportunities that were opened up to you. And I think that's brave, but it's also like such a heavy sacrifice that you were forced to make.
Yeah, that's a way you could definitely look at it. I think I just, like, for me towards the end, like, I was in such a bad place, and I was just like a depressed, anxious mess, and had to overcome dealing with like sexual assault that happened to me at the end of my career, and I just couldn't square it anymore. I just couldn't do it. I had to get away. Mm-hmm. Like, for my sanity, I could not continue to be in that environment.
Yeah. And I think
and I know that there's other women who feel that way, so well, it's sad.
And I think it's important to be honest about that, about how people feel, especially because the age old, like, well, we don't want to ruin his life. Like, that comes up in any and all, like, instances. And then it's like, okay, but did you ever stop to think, like, what does her tomorrow look like? What does her next week look like? What do we look like in a year? So yeah, we're protecting a criminal because it's hard to ruin people's lives, but he didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
And he got away with
it. Fair statement.
Yeah. And again, it's just like that invisible emotional and mental labor of women. Like, it's like, well, you wore shorts, or you chose to be where you were, and it's just ridiculous. Liz, did you have anything to share about your military experience or anything that you would like to add?
It's, again, I guess for me personally, it sadly is a little bit like the bees, where I didn't understand going into it how men would think and how women would think. I just assumed we were all serving our country together. I had no idea what it would be like. Mm-hmm. I don't know, it was disappointing to find, I guess, certain things. It was shocking. It still blows my mind, too, because I guess one of the deterrents for me to end my career, it was just the general mindset of there being a lack of accountability and responsibility, personal responsibility and personal accountability. It's infuriating. There's no personally owned business that could function if it performed in the way that men and women perform sometimes in the military and handle business. Not to a lot of opinions, not to knock us all, but then yet again, why not? Because it's kind of the reality, really. Mm-hmm. So it's, but no, it's just, and it does then get different between sexes, and it is this whole different environment that still blows my mind how much is covered up. So
Yeah.
I know that when I was finishing my time in Kansas at Fort Riley, they were, working on the sexual assault program and trying to improve it for both men and women, and they were making a point to let people know that men can be taken advantage of as well. And it's just a sad thing that that in the defense of our country, people are willing to sweep things under the carpet just to keep going forward with the mission, if you will. And I do not approve of that behavior, because it sets a terrible example for the citizens of this country that we are protecting. And when the little pieces of information pop out with these stories or a case in court where someone's actually defending themselves, it's just, people are so surprised and like, that's every day with pretty much every topic that's worth a fight in the military. So it saddens me. So what can I say? Yeah, there's a lot of good, but there's also a heck of a lot of bad.
Yeah. And if we don't have honest conversations like this and continue to talk about it, like, people will just do what they're allowed to get away with.
Oh, exactly. That's precisely the case.
Every conversation, every action sets a precedent, especially in this country. Like, we have a whole court that's just based on precedent. So we wrap up every episode with our takeaways of, like, so for example, it would be like how your biggest takeaway and lesson from being two women in your either homesteading or military community. And then we create a manifestation, which we didn't get to talk about how, like, we're all a little woo-woo, and so we'll have to have you back, or we'll cover it on Mother Cluckers or whatever, but we didn't even get to share, like, in that experience. But we'll manifest a little bit about what we hope for going forward for either men or other women in your communities or the universe as a whole. So if y'all want to go first.
Liz.
It's fair. I always put you on the spot. I guess I really liked what you said about conversations. I think that those can sometimes be underrated. Mm-hmm. And I think for women, we like to talk about things to death, maybe. I do. My poor husband. But I think that I don't know how to concisely say that my takeaway from the experience of working with men and women in both the military and homesteading is that this is just true for humanity, that there's always something so much more going on beneath the surface. And as long as we can just kind of slow down a little and pay attention when things happen and check in with each other about things and find out where we're each coming from as far as how we've been raised or what our expectations are for a situation, or, hey, how you feeling today? Yeah. Like, are you okay? Just if something looks a little funky. But again, that kind of has what I learned in the military is just the pace. I love to be busy too. I love to move around and do things. If I get caught up, then if I'm too busy, I don't make time to slow down and check on people. So people have to come first. And that's, as a busybody, that's not the hardest thing, but sometimes I forget. So I need to slow down.
Y'all really need to meet my friend Amber.
Yeah.
So much of that, like, I need to keep busy and I need to just keep going. Like, it just, like, goes ding, 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 ding. Amber. Like, Amber. I should connect you guys with Amber.
So, it's funny. Brittany said that, I think. You're like, I should work that out in therapy. And I'm quietly thinking, that's exactly what I'm working in therapy right now. Oh my God. I just had a chat with my counselor about that because we were talking about how much in society, like, a person's self-worth and value is tied to what they accomplish daily.
Yes.
And, like, how much I beat myself up for, like, well, I didn't do this today or that, and that was what I was really supposed to, all those things, and you're like, well, my day was worthless, kind of, or... Yeah, it's hard. It's when it's really especially in our society, that's how we all seem to...
Yep. It's just one of those beautiful side effects of capitalism.
I think just be kind to yourself and be kind to others and try to find enjoyment in whatever you're doing. And if you ever find yourself in that situation where you can't find joy, like, find the courage to move on.
Mm-hmm. That's well said, too. Yeah. Especially on those days where it's, like, really hard. And, like, it's like, okay, today I'm just going to really do it. Dina, how about you?
So I was thinking about it, and I feel like, definitely in, like, recent years, I feel like I've seen a trend of people, women especially, starting to be heard. And while I have not served in the military, and cannot speak to that at all, I am a first-generation Palestinian Arab American, and I'm 29 years old, and it took me this long to start talking about things that we don't talk about. And I just want to put it out there that I want more women to be heard in the military. The things that are happening that they can't talk about, they can't report, or feel like they can't report. I want them to be heard and for change to happen, and to keep letting change happen more quickly so we can hear those voices.
Yeah.
So,
and
I just hope that so badly.
My takeaway is partnered with yours, Dina, because it's what I'm hearing. The theme of it is like, this is our time to be radically honest. I know that I work through in therapy with my therapist, like the masking and the rationalizing, and like I'll have a very logical approach to all of my feelings, but I'm very rarely very honest about my feelings, about when I'm uncomfortable and things like that. So my big takeaway is it starts with us sharing our stories. And because, again, everyone gets to plead ignorance until you stand up and you say, but this happened to me. And I deserve a place in this community, and I'm being shut out from this community. So I think radical honesty is just my biggest takeaway from today. What about some wishes? I mean, Dina, you was that your manifestation too?
I think I was both, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, you started to go into your wants, it was a good one.
Thank you.
Yeah. But does anyone have, like, a manifestation to share, like, where do we move forward from here?
I like what Dina had said. Like, I just hope women who are suffering or feeling like they're in silence, that they have the courage to find their voice and to share their stories, because it might help somebody else come forward and make their life better as well.
Yeah. I think mine would be that I hope at some point I'm meeting more women like the two of you who have made such gains and have a firm place in a community that is dominated by men, because number one, it's inspiring, because when you meet people who are doing it, something clicks in your head that goes, well, then I can do it too. Representation is important, but also it means that we're making gains and we're holding firm. So I also hope that if someone is wavering tonight and you're listening, or whenever you're listening, and you're thinking, oh, well, that's not really something that I'm capable of, just know that you are, or that no one gets to tell you what you're capable of. You get to watch the YouTube. You get to practice it. You get to raise your voice. You get to have all of that control over what it is that you're capable of and what you do with your 24 hours. And I'll be damned if I'll let anyone else have you feel different. So if you're wavering, reach out to us, because I love to hype And I'll be like, well, who the fuck told you that you couldn't? I'll buy you a chicken right now. I will.
Right this instant.
I will Venmo you one chicken, and I will. Who the fuck told you that you couldn't have a chicken? I'll get you a chicken.
You know, I'm so glad that we, this is a really heartfelt moment, I feel like. But I forgot that I have a really important question that I need to ask from you guys. Because you are the experts on this, and I just really need to know the answer. I have a dream of having a very small, tiny farm, like nothing huge, just a little bit. And I really want an attack goose, and I would, I want it to attack other people, but I want it to be nice to me. Is that something that's possible?
That's
like,
your
can
D&D
I train the
character arc. I like.
I know people who do have geese, and if you get them from if you hatch them or get them as chicks, well, I don't even know. Are baby geese called chicks?
They're called goslings.
No, goslings.
Yeah.
Yeah. Little baby Ryan goslings.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I guess sometimes they'll attack your dog and stuff though, so you have to be careful.
No. I want it to do that. That's the
she
thing.
wants it to
I
pick on
want the
Oliver,
goose to attack
'cause he's
things
stubborn.
that aren't me.
Yeah.
Like my personal.
You can also
bodyguard.
get a guinea hen. Guinea hens are even better attackers.
Yes.
Or
I'm writing it down.
I mean, turkeys are wild though. They're just unpredictable. So, but yeah, Dina,
Okay,
what's
thank you for
attack
your,
is?
Yes, I do want
She
to
wants
attack
an
this, but
attack
thank you for your consultation on this matter. And I will definitely follow up when I have an attack goose.
Yeah, because Listen, I've watched one movie that was popular when Dina and I were children about a girl who hatched a nest of ducks and all of those ducks imprinted on her. And she had to build a big, I don't remember what this movie was called. She had to build a fake goose and teach him how to fly or something. If anyone knows, I swear it's a movie. But
I'm having vague memories of that too. Now that you said
it's
that,
called Fly Away Home or Far Away from Home or something stupid. I believe her dad was Jeff Bridges, but I also know it wasn't Jeff Bridges. But Dina, I think you hatch it and it imprints on you like a werewolf.
Yes.
Like on Twilight, your favorite
goose.
book.
Okay, first of all, don't come at me for liking Twilight, okay?
Fly Away Home! Yes! Yes!
I want to watch it, too.
I knew I didn't make up this whole movie where a girl, hatched geese and then had to teach them how to fly. I knew it. It's a good family film, and so I hope everyone gets a chance to watch it. But do y'all want to plug anything and everything that you're doing? If you sell honey, we want to know how to do it, but we definitely want to plug Mother Cluckers because it's the most relaxful part of my city life.
You can follow us on... Well, we have other things, but I don't mess with them. So really only follow us on Instagram or TikTok or Patreon at Mother Cluckers Podcast. And we do have an Etsy store, and it's Mother Cluckers merch. But all that's in there right now is stickers. But we eventually are going to put, homemade candles and, Liz's honey and some other things in there.
I love a candle. And a sticker.
You should sell bee hats. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, bee hats. That's a good idea. We'll have to send you guys stickers, though.
Oh, that's lovely.
Listen, nothing makes me happier than a sticker. One time I was out at a restaurant, and because I liked the waitress's little book, she brought me a sticker. She's like, I had one in my bag. I was like, a sticker?
It's amazing.
Yeah. Stickers make everyone happy. That's the perfect merch. Again, if someone's told you that you're stupid for liking stickers, you call me, and I'll buy you all the stickers.
We're literally ready to fight anybody at any time.
We're so aggressive.
We're so aggressive. It's really a problem.
No. I don't know who hurt me that made me be all I'll get anybody.
Now you know who hurt you, and I know who hurt me. We all know who hurt each other, and it sucks, and it's a man. We know it's a man.
And that's why we have this podcast, which I guess I will launch into our plugs. if you two have been hurt by a man and you're angry or sad about it, or you just really want me to fight them, you have to like and subscribe first. And then you have to leave us a 5-star review. That's where you can make your request on who I'm going to fight for you. And I will, like, I'll leave angry voicemails. I'll get a Google phone that they can't trace. And I will leave
that works.
angry voicemails. Our Instagram is at Men I've Tolerated Pod. My personal Instagram is NatalieK124. That's my TikTok where I do all of my nonsense. And usually I tell people that they can screenshot an episode that they're listening to and tag us in their Instagram stories, and I'll leave them a kind manifestation for their day. But also, if you would like to make requests for Dina and I to be angry at people, I guess that's our new trend.
Literally my favorite thing to do ever.
Like,
I love wishing angry things on people.
Right. Dina will probably make videos of her just being like, who the fuck was that?
If anything is going to get me on a video, like, I do not like being on social media, like my face, but that will get me on a video, I think.
And then we would really love to start, like, I mean, I like handwritten mail because I'm 82 years old, but if you want to write us letters at our Gmail, it's menI'veTolerated@gmail.com, and I'll read your letters, and I will reply to them, because I love pen pals, and I love that situation. My online coven did a fall card exchange for Mabon, and all of a sudden I had to be the person. I got, like, all of my cards, and I realized that no more cards were coming. And then I had to be the person who, like, tried to make it really serious. And I was like, well, if anyone wants to, like, keep up the card exchange and do more pen pal activities, I'd hate to be that girl that, like, kills the vibe and is like, we did one nice thing, let's make it a chore. But I bought stamps.
I bought 500 stamps.
Right,
And
I bought a
like
lifetime of
everybody
stamps.
a card.
Yeah. I love handwritten mail.
If you would like to follow me on Instagram, you can do so at your own discretion. My handle is at @ms_caboose, and I will have all the links to my social media, including all my gaming platforms and the nerdy shit I do. So give me a follow.
All right. Thank you both for being here. This is my favorite part of the podcast. No, seriously, it's my having friends all over the place, because we started this thing out of our mutual anger and hurt, is my favorite part. And Liz, I don't know if you got to read the email, but I did put, Dina, this is how I signed off our email. I was like, I just manifest that we get to be friends forever, and maybe I want to come see the farm. Like, I don't know. Like, maybe I want to hug a goat. Like, I don't know. I bet you.
Yeah.
I
You
bet
know, if
you
I'm
I
ever
do.
in the
We'll
neck
have to
of
get
the
you
woods,
out here.
Montana.
Yeah. Come butcher chickens with us. It's not
Oh,
that
gosh,
bad.
this is a bad time to mention this, but I
She's
am
vegan.
vegan.
But now,
Oh, yes.
But you know what?
I remember you said that in an episode
Listen,
recently.
It's not
and I
even.
was like, oh.
It's not even for ethical reasons,
No.
honestly. Like, it's
Mhm.
all health reasons. So, like, I mean, I used to go hunting.
yeah, she
You
hunted.
know, when I was down in southern Kentucky, I did all the things.
Listen,
But I just don't eat them anymore.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I still,
Love to see one get slaughtered. Like,
I still, okay.
Well, come can
So,
with
just
us
kidding.
then.
That was a joke.
I still eat chicken nuggets because I'm
Mm.
adverse to change. But yeah, like literally, like I'll talk nicely to the chicken right before its final moments.
Yeah.
I'll be like,
We do that.
the death doula of the chicken, just like the death doula.
Yeah, we do that.
Oh, good.
That's great.
Yeah, you have to thank the chicken.
Yeah.
Like it's a rule
That's-
for me.
That's the
You have
only
to
right.
thank
That's the
chicken.
right thing to do, I think.
Yeah,
Mhm.
It's giving up its life for you.
exactly.
It's gonna be tasty
sure.
too. I'm not discrediting that chickens are tasty, like, or animals are not tasty. See, I'm not one of those vegans. It's literally delicious, and I would love to eat them all the time
Every
if
time.
I could, but I would die. Actually,
Dina has
So-
been known to point at something on the menu that she wants to watch me eat. She's like,
Oh
"Just get-
yes,
can you get this one though?" And I'm like,
and then
what?
I'm like, can you tell me what it tastes like?
Right.
and
What's that
describe it?"
texture there? Can I
Yeah.
smell it? Can I smell it before you eat it? And I'm like,
Yes,
yeah.
please.
So she's definitely not one of those vegans who's like, oh, you wanted a steak tonight? Oh, I wonder what that
Though
cow-
I do like the whole thing with dairy, though. this is such a sidebar, sorry, but when people are like, oh yeah, I couldn't give up dairy and all this stuff, and I look at them, I'm like, are you a baby cow? That's my favorite thing, is to ask people if they're a baby cow. I'm like, milk is for baby cows, right? Are you a baby cow? And they're like, no. I'm like, well, maybe you shouldn't drink milk. Go drink an oat.
I would like to be a
Right,
baby
I would
cow.
love nothing more than to come back in the
Exactly.
next life as a baby cow.
Maybe not in the United States, but maybe somewhere else. Or on one of your homesteads. I would love to be.
No,
a baby
I'm
cow
assuming
on one
that
of your
if I'm
homesteads.
coming back as a baby cow, it's on the moon because we've ravaged this planet.
Okay.
So I'm a moon cow.
Oh,
like-
okay, Natalie, you're a moon cow.
I've watched all the scary environmental documentaries on Netflix where I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, all right. Well, I paid attention to that book while I was reading it, so I am ready to be a Martian.
We've really just gone
We've
downhill.
just gone downhill. This is what happens. Oh, wait, let me do the catchphrase. Let's see if I can even remember it. And remember, tolerators, you don't have to tolerate anyone in your community assaulting you, harassing you, or making you feel small because you're doing something great and you're trying to be successful. Smiles are for joy. Don't smile at those fuckers. We love you, and keep being radically honest.